This year has been really eye-opening.
I would have to be honest and say most weeks are a little overwhelming.
2020 was pretty scary for me. A lot of things that I went into 2020 being sure of were no longer there.
We were actually celebrating our 1-year anniversary in March when we had to go on lockdown. I think they say the average Black business shuts down within the first year. So I was really nervous about being another statistic.
We knew March 1st we were going to release our FDD to the world, and we were going to sign people on to franchise with us. Of course, a few weeks later, we had a few other things to worry about.
Literally everything came to an end, and I had to figure out how to restart.
At the beginning, nobody really thought it was going to go as long as it did.
Working through, that 2-week process, and then it turns into 4 weeks, and then you're at 6 weeks, and by 8 weeks, you're wondering, what's going to happen here?
As other people panicked, it made me panic a little bit.
You kind of pause for a second. You're kind of nervous, or you don't know what to expect.
The toilet paper shortage, we laugh about it now, but to think that people were really thinking we weren't going to be able to have our basic needs to survive.
We were really just reacting day to day, and we put our franchising on hold.
A lot of our clients immediately dropped us out of fear and just the unknown. In the beginning, it was I can't even have my sister in my home. I can't have cleaning people in my home.
I am a plus size person, I'm fat. I have a plus size resale shop. All my clients are fat. I felt even more responsibility to shut it down and be vocal about not wanting people to be out and about.
I saw a lot of people oh, how could you be open during this? How could you continue your service during this? But then for other businesses, why are you not open? When are you gonna open?
For me, it was more of a mass text saying, these are the laws that have been put into place. This is where we stand.
Every single day, some new story was coming out, different direction, different planned opening dates.
Every day that I was going to work, I felt like I was going to war, and I didn't train for this.
It was just every single day blended together, and it was it was kind of traumatic.
Small businesses, this wasn't written in our business plans.
There's no way you can prepare or forecast a pandemic. I didn't even know what the word pandemic meant until March 2020. When I signed my lease, a year and a half or 2 years ago, and there was this section that said, even if some kind of tragedy or some kind of tornado tears down your building, whatever, you're still responsible to pay your lease. And in my mind, when I was signing the lease, I thought, what's the worst that could happen? And now I'm kind of stuck, and I still have to pay rent, but I don't have income coming in because I'm clearly not gonna charge my barbers for work they're not doing. But my landlord is still asking me for rent because they have mortgages they gotta fulfill.
A lot of discussions were taking place behind closed doors between myself and landlords.
I had to pay for the space that I was in, and of course there were different things that were being offered, but it wasn't as easy as people thought it was to get the type of help that was needed.
It was a little iffy whether my mom, who was owning the business at the time, was going to be able to get some relief.
Because Inherited Stories started in October 2019, there was no previous year record for the government to look at and say, oh, you're an established business, you've been doing this, here's what you made last year and the year before, and so on and so forth. When you're looking at PPP loans, there's no record, so why am I gonna give you just some random money for free for nothing?
I applied for unemployment, and they gave it to me, and then they took it back 2 days later out of my account, and I was like, really?
When you talk about is government helping people who need it, well, people like me, we don't count.
Financially, in the end, we all kind of made it work.
Thankfully, we were able to get some support with PPP, and there was another grant I got, which I'm really thankful for. But that money's run out. That money was spent, months ago. The main thing I worry about, honestly, is bankruptcy, personal financial ruin.
The reality that everything is on your shoulders. It's a lot to juggle.
In terms of burnout, I feel like it is something I've experienced more this year than ever before.
It's exhausting to the point where you can't sleep. which is so counterintuitive, right?
I really went through this freak out, like 24-hour period where I was just like, I can't do this. Like, this is too much.
One of the biggest stressors and kind of unknown risk was just the starting a business.
COVID has affected everything.
One of the biggest challenges we had was just our supply chain. We had our supplier pretty much like, they weren't taking a lot of orders, or it was just very backed up.
One of the main companies that we buy a lot of our wood from, we're a smaller customer for them, so they actually told us they couldn't sell us what they typically sell us anymore because they had to save it for their larger customers. You know, it was a lot of work calling around, trying to find some new suppliers.
The scarcity of some materials. You go to buy some electrical components and they don't exist right now.
Color orders, product orders were taking a very long time.
The factories, a lot of them are in China and Korea where these are made because that's where they're exporting a lot of the merchandise from too. They did get slowed up, they did get behind.
The challenges were basically figuring out with manufacturers and vendors, because most of them were closed due to COVID. 50% of the vendors were closed.
That affects our business.
So we didn't have product for like, I think a few weeks, and that was a huge issue because at the same time, people wanted to order products online. It's just a lot of pressure to keep up with the demand, and it was a lot of stress.
As a business owner, you have 20 balls up in the air at any given time.
I had my blinders on and I just looked at day to day.
What we could do was just like be transparent with our customers and be like, hey, we're really backed up right now. Our supply chain is just very overwhelmed, and so your order is going to take 2 to 4 weeks possibly.
When I purchase an item and it takes 2 weeks to get to me, I still have to photograph it, tag it, steam it, make sure it's appropriate for the website. And then when you do purchase it, when you package up an item and take it to the post office, UPS, it's in someone else's hand.
That's just a challenge of being, a small business and doing everything in-house.
The downside of e-commerce is people want their stuff right away. But when I ship out a Modish mode item, I'm packaging it, I'm writing the note, I'm giving you the sticker. It's me, my family, my significant other packaging up those orders.
And I think everything's so readily available for people to consume these days that doesn't always get noticed or appreciated.
Be patient with small business owners. They are working as hard as they can.
Things are still up in the air with some of our clients or some businesses that we're in talks with in order to work for. So I think it's a little slow moving.
The idea that like retail is cool, no, Target is cool. Target's doing great. But there are other small businesses, brick and mortar retail businesses like mine that aren't doing great.
I think out of this whole thing, small businesses have been hit the hardest.
We look back in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years, what kind of impact this pandemic has had on our small business community. I think probably most of us are just gonna be way more in debt, way more burnt out, super demoralized. And I just wonder like how that will pan out in the years to come,
We had prepped, all of 2019 and into 2020 for franchising. And so when January 2021 rolled around, we were so ready. We ended up selling out the state of Minnesota in, I believe, 4 weeks. We also sold out the state of Wisconsin, Chicago, Phoenix, Nashville. We've got units in Florida going up, Denver. It feels like I finally went through the fire in a weird way, like I'm kind of getting rewarded for just staying committed and staying the course.
We survived a 3-month lockdown. That's not easy, and that's not something that we can just take for granted.
Every second moving forward is hope because we just saw that, none of that is guaranteed.
Every day is a gift, and I know that that's said a lot. And it seems really cheesy, but it truly is because there are people who didn't wake up today.
We woke up and we were given another day, another breath, another chance.